All this colorful spaghetti you see spread out across the floor is our electrical system. What we're going to be installing on our Plymouth is what you'd call a semi-direct fit harness, meaning it's got a fuse block and connector assembly similar to what would have came on the car originally. But we are still going to have to cut and terminate a few of those connections.
For a little wiring 101, let's talk about strippers. Now there's several different types out there, but they all basically do the same thing, and that is remove the protective coating to expose the wire. However, there is a wrong way to use them. They have designated places for different size or gauge wires. If you choose the wrong one, you can damage the wire. What it will do is cut into the wire, and that can lead to a poor connection. You can see a few pieces of copper here in the sheathing, and you don't want this. Okay, the next thing, let's say you want to connect two wires. Let's start with the most basic way, and that is with the pigtail or rat tail splice. That's where you take two or more wires and simply twist them together. A connection like this works, but it has its drawbacks. One is it's not a very strong connection unless it's soldered. If you wrap it with electrical tape, moisture can still get in because of the gap, and it's not very pleasing to the eye. But one thing's for sure, it's easy. Another way you can make a connection is with crimp connectors. These are easy to use and they're gauge specific. Let's start with the wire. You will need to remove some of the insulation. Now with that, all you're trying to do is go about halfway through this connector. You don't need a bunch of wiring sticking out from the end of it. So let's cut some off here. Now if you look on your connector, there's a seam on it. If you're using the type of pliers with the bump on it, you want to be on the opposite side of that seam. Then all you need to do is take your pliers and clamp it down. This helps to ensure a lot stronger of a crimp. Now after you're done, give this thing a little bit of a tug. Now don't get all He-Man on it, you're just checking to see if it's loose. If it is, that can lead to a short. Just heat things up a bit. Dab with some solder. That will get it done. Now when soldering too much heat, and this stuff can be a bad thing. If you throw the heat to it, you can burn up the protective coating on the wire. And if you pour on the solder, it will basically make the wire solid.
The next thing you want to focus on is shielding your work. And you have plenty of options in that department as well. Starting off, good old-fashioned electrical vinyl tape. Now this stuff is actually a pretty good insulator when used properly. And there are a few different styles and colors to choose from that factor in heat, moisture, and vibration. And application is about as easy as it gets. Just simply wrap it around your work. However, I would not recommend it as a standalone repair to severely damaged or unspliced wires. Next up, we have what is called liquid electrical tape, which I would consider more of a problem-solving solution. And in terms of aesthetics, there are far better alternatives. But if your trailer wires fall apart going down the road, this stuff will at least get you home. For premium shielding when it comes to appearance, longevity, and weatherproofing, I would highly recommend heat shrink, especially the kind with a hot melt sealer. Not only does it look cool when you're applying it, it also creates a trouble-free repair that looks nice to boot and makes your wiring job look professional, whether you are or not. And at this point, it could be really hard to gauge how much work we still have to do on this car. And the answer just might shock you. But we are getting down to the wire. All we can do is focus on the current task at hand, and as long as we don't sell ourselves short, we can do it.